Hi there, beautiful dreamers. Welcome back to emmeyasoleildreamwork. So, have you ever become aware of that you had the same dream as someone else the same night? Like you were in the same dream scenario but had these slightly different memories from it? When this happens, it's probably because there are some important things in the dream that should be dealt with, either for one of the dreamers or for both, or perhaps because there's something there to be added to a bigger picture. Usually people who are close, as in relations, family, work and friends, often dream together, often without paying attention to it, since it's not a very common thing to share dreams at the breakfast table or at the early morning office meeting for that sake. But when sharing the same space in awake time, working in the same direction, on the same project, for the same good, there is also quite an amount of energy doing its own work without intellectual interference, and this energy keeps on working together with those you spend your time with, coming to conclusions, and this is shown in dreams. And just imagine if taking time to share dreams, communicate on a deeper level of consciousness for one moment at least before those daily doings takes over the show. So think about what a harvest this could mean for every individual's growth, family's feeling of unity, and company's consensus too. Not least since people being together in different kinds of constellations have been gravitating towards each other because of laws not understood by the logical side of a human being. So a loving couple may have waited for several lives to finally meet and being able to live together, just as friends have been working themselves methodically through lessons to finally be born into a context where they can meet and do things they have decided to do on a soul level. These things are quite complex, and finding oneself in specific constellations is not only the result of random chance, I would suppose to say there. The result of random chance. So the bottom line here is that if sharing dreams, or better than that, if dreaming together on a conscious level, for sure there are things of value there to be found. So my husband and I, we share dreams and we dream together. But since we are both quite busy and caught up in all the goings on in our daily lives, we forget to share. We just forget the dreams, and we need to be reminded about the inner side of things, the soul's perspective of things. And some nights ago I had a strange dream, and it goes like this. I find myself inside a small house. I have just got here, and apparently it's my place, but I have a feeling something is wrong, and I can't really put my finger on what. I try to look out through a bay window, facing east and a little bit of north, but there are a lot of green leafy plants in here, making it hard to see anything at all. And suddenly these green plants are everywhere around me, like if they have increased in number, and they are shooting sprouts now at the windows, and one is landing on my face too. And I get the feeling that the vegetation is taking over here, not letting intruders in, and I'm a bit confused. We live here, but I really don't recognize the place, but it's mine. My daughter is with me in the next second, and we walk into a bedroom where we are supposed to catch some sleep in the one and only bed. But when we are about to fall to sleep, a young man comes there too, laying down and taking all the space through pushing his butt in our direction, and I have to push him back to the other side. And at some point later in the dream, I walk to the refrigerator in the dream house to check how long this has been going on. A little bit suspicious there. So since I am wondering about the presence of this young man, and when I open the fridge, I see that he has bunkered food there. Dairy products, packages stapled in a pile, and I'm confused. How could this have happened without my knowledge? I for sure have not been guarding this place properly, I think. So this dream was disturbing since it withheld both the element of feeling insecure about what is happening, uh, this wild shooting vegetation where I was supposed to be living but felt like an intruder, and at the same time having some kind of intruder there in form of that young man. So when I woke up, my husband was also awake, and he said to me that he had such a weird dream, and he told me the following. I'm in a small house with only one room. Small windows are on every wall. People start coming in through these windows, and I have to protect this space. It's very private. It's our paintings hanging here, and the people coming in are stealing them, but I managed to take them back. So the reality show Our Life has a say about the ingredients of both our dreams, of course. It had been a lot of things going on. I was writing about the enchanting symbolism of vegetation for my upcoming courses the same day, while my husband had been down in the cellar working with literally doing holes in the walls, installing ventilation. And one of the rooms is actually where we have our paintings. But there's more to this, of course. So let's take it the proper way through interpreting things on the first level of dream work, where everything is the dreamer. And the reason for always starting here is that otherwise it's difficult to determine whether the dream has any messages other than the strictly personal ones. And also since we have a tendency to start projecting in a blink of an eye, especially when things are about intruders. What a shame if getting stuck there and missing the important stuff. And now in this case, it's about dreaming together and handing each other completing information, and this makes it extra important to start exactly here, where the dream is all about self. This is how every dream interpretation should be started, building a ground made of understanding about the self and then taking further steps both in horizontal and vertical directions, seeing things both in daily life terms and soul terms. So let's get started. Each house represents a mental construction, a place where thoughts are arranged according to a certain pattern. Mine was supposed to be home, meaning a supposed to be familiar kind of thinking. It had a hallway, a kitchen, and a sleeping room. And a hallway symbolizes an association leading from one thought to another, while a kitchen symbolizes supposedly nutritious thoughts, and finally a bedroom represents hopefully restful thinking. The bay window, where I was standing trying to get a peek of the outside world, was located near the entrance door, and the door represents the initial thought leading to this specific thought pattern that was supposed to be somehow familiar to me. The fact that all was covered with green leaf plants means growth. Sprouting is a positive thing, but it really had taken over, and the understanding in this situation is that I, as a dreamer and soul, entered a certain corner of my mind that I really hadn't been giving attention for quite a long time. But meanwhile, an active aspect of mine had been taking care of things there. This place in me had been left alone and forgotten, but still it was filled with wonderful plants that was overgrowing the place. Thriving was going on without my conscious help here, but instead with that help of the little gardener, the so-called intruder. The active aspect was taking care of business there. The dairy products he had piled up in the fridge suggests innocence, milk feeding, probably needed in that hibernating state of his. And when I was going to bed there, my daughter was with me, and she symbolizes vulnerability, innocence, since she is my daughter no matter how old she is now. Resting and sleeping means being vulnerable, excuse me, in one respect, and me as being the soul had to clear space for the passive vulnerable daughter aspect of mine, since the active innocent one was so used to have all the space by his own. But under his reign, the greens had been thriving, so they were vividly alive and growing fast. It wasn't the growth of mold or poisonous plants, it was chlorophyll-rich, lovely greens. Now let's enter my husband's dream for a while here. His house bestowed of only one room where both his and my plantings were. Paintings, I'm sorry, I'm still in that greens. Paintings. Only one room means focus on the one thought, one thing, obviously the paintings then. Windows were all around, and this means there was no problems with seeing through illusions in this thought construction of his. He was there alone, but I was there symbolically with him through our common creativity. Meaning he was protecting both his masculine and feminine creativity, seen from the first level of dream interpretation. He protected it by his clear seeing, but that turned out not being that easy since other aspects came in there. So his dream speaks about protecting the inner sacred creativity and about the ability to see all that is outside this creative thinking in a clear way, symbolized by the windows being all around. But the ability to see clear invited more aspects of him to this creative but closed system, and he felt overpowered by this. So even if a dream may feel both negative and threatening, the understanding still can turn out to be something positive, especially if adding more information from a co-dreamer. In my dream, the intruder, the innocent active aspect, actually represented my husband when taking the understanding from this first level to the second, where other persons interact in different ways. He was guarding the art, symbolizing taking care of the green leaf plants, taking care of the creative feeling at home pattern that I had forgotten about in my dream. I didn't remember that I was in my place, remember. Seeing this from the angle of his dream, then, me and daughter represented the intruders, coming into this guarded space where he was protecting the sacred creativity, the spiritual growth to bring it outside this pattern. When mingling our dreams together, it is clear that from my husband's point of view, we were intruders, while from my point of view, the intruder was the one who was in the house without my knowledge. He who represented my husband. We didn't see this clearly before putting our dreams together, actually sharing the dream that we had together. The common thought pattern of ours in our dreams that night is quite obviously a creative one, which is for sure true in real life too. And the lesson here came from the common perspective of the first level of dream interpretation, be understood as me needing to go back to the roots of my creativity, while he has to bring his creativity to the outside. Further, the beauty here is that he had both his and my art in there in his dream, and when moving from the first level, where the art represents merely his creative expression kept inside that mental clearness of his, and taking it all to the second level, he actually was protecting our common power of creation. Then what? Well, the next night I sat up in the bed in the middle of the night, after waking up from a new and quite clarifying dream. I found myself inside a roundish and well-known inner room of mine, with paintings hanging in a row around the whole room. I was wondering which painting I should climb into, and the painting had now turned into windows showing different scenarios outside of them, and I knew in the dream that the different paintings or windows represented earlier lives. And now we are clearly on the third level of dream interpretation here, since we have stepped beyond the linear timeline. In an earlier video of mine called 666 and Other Triplet Numbers, I told you about dreaming of my husband before actually meeting him. And I also told you that in one of those dreams he was an artist showing all his paintings in an exhibition, and that these paintings were showing all our common earlier lives. So it turns out we both have small rooms with paintings all around inside us, of course. How could I not remember this in this first dream? This is a sacred space of the heart, and here we carry the memories of our significant lives, among other things. We all do. When looking at my husband's dream from the third level perspective, he was back in my old dream from before we had met. Yes, that's possible, since our souls are not bound in the linear timeline. He was protecting our common art, our common lives in this sacred space of his heart. And I had to go back in there to remember to bring my innocence there too, just like his was already there too, since such a long time. And together we have to bring to the outside what have been growing there, thriving and sprouting. Like enclosing a circle coming forth by day, remembering and bringing forward what have been behind the wheel for such a long time. And this is how things work, and we can tap into this if we pay attention, if we give it some effort. And the persons who are close to us, who are loved by us, are most often they are more important for us than we could ever imagine, for more than the obvious reasons of love. So I would really like to close this video by reading a few words from the first book I gave my husband when we had just met, and it's called Awakening Osiris. I have lived in the midst of gods who knew not who they were. You and I are pure as dream, lasting as words, opulent as women. We are giving the gift of becoming and the ways of it. After a time of forgetting, I come back as myself. I am as tied to my destiny as an ass is tied to his plow. Because the gods will it, the work is done, and our labor to become what we must is like the perfume of lotus and red sanders. Thank you, dear ones, for listening, and thank you all sweet souls out there reaching out to me. I am always available of email, emmeyasoleildreamwork@gmail.com, and I really appreciate all your kindness and love. Don't forget to subscribe to my monthly newsletter coming with special offers, and do this by joining our mailing list on my website. Just write your email address in the square at the top of the page and then push submit. The website is to be found at www.emmeyasoleil.com. So keep up the good work, keep on dreaming nurturing dreams, share your dreams with others, ask them what they have been dreaming. Let the hidden treasures on your insides be seen on the outside. Much love to you all, and see you soon.